Hey everyone, Chapter 8 on your Chapter 7 practice test, Question 8 on your Chapter 7 practice test, has this differential equation and we're supposed to find the general solution. So having done these a while, I noticed that we have an e exponential function and a cosine. And this is kind of signal to me that this is going to be one of those integrals where you keep taking the integral by parts, and eventually you get back to the beginning integral. So let's write this as an integral. Y is going to be equal to the integral of ex cosine x over 3 dx. And, using Lyautey, we see that we have an exponential function and we have a trig function. And since trig is higher up on the list, we're going to start with u equals the trig function. So we'll say u equals cosine of x over 3, and dv is equal to e to the x. The derivative of u is equal to 1/3. Now the derivative of cosine is negative sine, so negative 1/3 sine of x over 3 dx. And v is equal to e to the x. That's a pretty easy antiderivative. So the first time we do our antiderivative by parts, we get y equals e to the x cosine x over 3 dx, and that's going to be equal to u times v, which is cosine of x over 3 multiplied by e to the x, minus the integral of v du, which is e to the x and negative 1/3 sine of x over 3 dx. Clean that up a little bit and we get e to the x cosine x over 3 plus 1/3 the integral. Actually, let's keep that 1/3 inside the integral. I think it's a little easier if we keep it that way. 1/3 e to the x sine of x over 3 dx. And we do our integral by parts again. Same idea, we have Lyautey, trigonometric function, exponential function. So u is going to be my trig function. And as a matter of just keeping things easy, I like to keep that constant 1/3 with u. It's easier for my mind to deal with that if the constant is with u. So let's make sure we got all the pieces here. We got a 1/3, we've got e to the x, we've got sine x over 3. So everything has been accounted for. Let's take our derivative, and the derivative of sine is cosine. The derivative of x over 3 is 1/3. So 1/3 from the chain rule times 1/3 is 1/9. The derivative of sine, again, is cosine x over 3 dx. And dv here, that makes v equal to e to the x. So we'll put all of that together again. Don't forget about this first term, e to the x cosine of x over 3 plus, and then now we're going to go ahead and put this in parentheses and assemble. So we got 1/3 sine of x over 3 multiplied by e to the x, that's uv, minus the integral of v, e to the x, multiplied by du, 1/9 cosine of x over 3 dx. Close off that parenthesis. And let's simplify this. E to the x cosine x over 3, can't do nothing about that. But this over here, we've got that 1/3 e to the x sine x over 3. And this is going to stay minus. And then now we'll put that 1/9 out on the outside. 1/9 integral of e to the x cosine of x over 3 dx. And if you remember, that was equal to the integral of e to the x cosine of x over 3 dx. So now we've done it. This integral here is exactly the same as this integral here. So we'll add a 1/9 of that integral to both sides. So we add 1/9 of the integral to both sides, and when we combine this, this is you could think of this as 9 over 9. 9 over 9 plus 1 over 9, of course, that's 10 over 9 of that same integral. And of course, that gets canceled out on the right side. And so we're pretty much finished here. The last thing we're going to do is multiply both sides by 9 over 10. And add a constant on the right side. Now this is the correct answer, or a correct answer, but most of the time when you see this on particularly a multiple choice question, we're going to see things factored. So you'll notice there's an e to the x in both terms. We're going to factor that out. And then also we're going to factor out this 1/3. So if we factor all of that out, well, let's factor out the e to the x first. You'll see what I mean. Let's factor out e to the x. We see it here on the outside now. And this is just cosine of x over 3, which is 1 times cosine x over 3. 1 is the same thing as 3 over 1 multiplied by 1/3. And the reason I'm doing that is to show you that when I factor out now this 1/3, I'm going to be left with a 3 here attached to the cosine. So there's that 3 cosine x over 3. That's where the 3 comes from. And then for this 9 over 10 multiplied by 1/3, of course you can multiply that out. And that brings us to a final answer of 3/10 e to the x, 3 cosine x over 3 plus sine of x over 3, plus that constant.